Manchin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Haliff, last year during your previous testimony before the committee, the FDA held an advisory committee meeting on opiates, which you know is extremely devastating to this entire country, especially to my state of West Virginia. In particular, the questionable clinical trial practice known as enriched enrollment. The enriched enrollment process has made it significantly easier for FDA to approve opiates and allow for broad marketing to the public. The process removes the patients with pre-existing opiate sensitives from clinical trials instead of sticking with traditional double-blind studies. This has skewed results and seriously underestimates risks associated with the proposed drug involved in a clinical trial. The advisory committee last year expressed concerns during the meeting about the enriched enrollment is able to really address whether an opiate is better than a non-opiate. In September, I sent you a letter asking for an update on FDA and during a response to these concerns. We haven't heard a thing. So what have you done and in response to concerns raised regarding the enriched enrollment?
Well, Senator, thanks for the question. As we've discussed before, I'm a clinical trialist by profession. It's been my whole career, so I certainly understand the issue that you're raising. And you know that we had the advisory committee meeting. The advice is publicly available, and we take it seriously. I don't think you'll see enriched enrollment as a practice in the routine management of the affairs of opioids. There are other circumstances in medicine and healthcare where it's a very important constituent of the armamentarium of clinical trial methods that are important to have available.
Well, let me go into this then. And one of the recommendations in the external review of the FDA regulations of opioids report that you ordered was to ensure the FDA be as transparent as possible regarding decision-making, which I appreciate. Advisory committees present complex scientific reviews of safety and efficacy of medicines. And most patients and the general public really don't have a background to fully understand the scientific studies which you're explaining. But the FDA announced that it will be holding a listening session on June 13th to discuss the role of advisory committees specifically to improve the public understanding. One element that you have stated is to reduce voting. How can you reduce voting with these scientists and like yourself being in that position before if you can't vote to where you think something's effective or not? And it leads into another question. I can never believe this happened, okay, was Zohydro. When Zohydro, I don't think you were there at this time, 11-2, the advisory committee voted against putting this product on the market. And at that time, I think she was the head, Woodcock was the head of it, did it anyway. And I could not believe it, So if you take voting out of the process, what would be that?
I don't know, Senator, I don't know if anyone is, first of all, as a clinical scientist, the epitome, the peak of my academic career was being on the Cardiorenal Advisory Committee where everything comes together. I don't know if anyone is advocating taking voting completely away.
Let's reduce voting. How?
Let's remember, advisory committees are to give advice to the FDA, often not about a particular product, but about a field, how to think about a field where the vote doesn't particularly have a purpose. In addition to that, what the FDA is most interested in is what the advisory committee is thinking, what's behind the reasoning for the way they feel the way they do. That's much more important than the sort of excitement of having a vote from people that have convened for one day without all of the background that the FDA has been meeting and looking at the data for months. So the advisory committees are very important. I'm a big proponent of having them. We just need to make sure that they're meeting the purpose for which they exist. And with regard to votes that go the other way, if we always took the advice of advisory committees, wouldn't need the FDA, just convene an advisory committee. So
these are scientists give you a different opinion. The only thing I look at an advisory committee, these are people that are not beholding to the company that's asking you to approve a new patent or whatever it may be.
Well,
and let me just say this, the thing, because our time is very limited, and the thing that the opiate is just a scourge on our society, and it's been for quite some time. It's devastated my state in ways that you can't even believe. And what it's done around the country, we kill more people with overdoses than we have in any wars we've ever fought in, starting back from the Civil War. But I can't never figure out, why do we allow I mean, and evaluate if a new product is coming on the market, your job is to make sure it's an improved product that'll reduce the suffering of humans. It's better for society. And these products keep coming at you all, and they're not taking anything off. If something's going to improve and be better, then don't you think something should be removed from the market? They're just flooding the market with the things they've had forever, killing Americans and killing West Virginians, and bringing more things to do more damage.
Well, let me just say, my staff is available to yours, and I think they are talking.
Sure.
And as frequently as possible, in my view. We need a legal construct if we're going to pull things off the market.
We'll work with you on that. If you're telling me we have to do something, you need legislation here to pull things off the market once they've been approved, and even though something's replacing it's better?
I really, Senator, as I've aged in this job, I really believe
we're all aging right now.
We at FDA are referees primarily. The rule book is written by Congress, so when you write a law,
Okay.
we follow the law.
Fair enough.
Let me mention one other. Just you may be prepared to ask about this. The issue of, personally, I'm very much in favor of something you've advocated for, which is for a new opioid to come on the market. As opposed to all other drugs in classes of drugs, it ought to have an advantage over we don't need more opioids on the market. I think we agree on that.
Yes, we do.
Unless there's something that's really a significant advantage. But right now, the rule book that we referee upon says if the drug is better for the indication than nothing, then it's allowed on the market. And
so you need language basically saying, is it an improved drug that that'll perform better than the existing drug, so we'll remove the existing drug?
That's right.
Okay, got it.
Thank you, Senator.
Do we produce any antibiotics here in America? Someone told me strep throat could take us down.
Not many.
And has the alarm been raised why we should have some manufacturing producing the necessities for us just off the basic?
I feel like from the day I came into this job this time, I've been screaming and shouting from the rooftops. But I mean, as you know, Senator, you've had family in the generic drug business.
They were they had to close down the plant because they had too many drugs they were producing.
Right. I mean, your cost of labor in West Virginia is competitive, I'll just say, and yet you still couldn't keep that going. And so
they were taken down because of FDA. Yeah. Back then, it just made them impossible because they have so many drugs they were producing. They were producing those by the billions, but we don't even do any of that anymore. I just think it's a horrible situation, and I've talked to Secretary Becerra about this, and basically we have manufacturers who want to get back in business, making that and stockpiling it, so we do have it here in America made. The other thing I want to mention to you, on December 22nd and 22, which was basically the fiscal year 2023 omnibus bill that we passed, it included my Freed of Opiates Act, which requires FDA to review how they approve new opiate drugs. So that is in the law, okay? Now, also May 26th of that same time, and right now it's the Support Act, it passed the HELP Committee. And the Support Act, I think, does what you want. It was myself, Senator Braun. It's ensuring the FDA fully examines clinical trial impact and vitalness before endorsement act, which is the EFFECT Act, which would allow the Food and Drug Administration to deny a new drug application for an opioid analgesic drug on the basis of the drugs not being clinically superior to other commercially available drugs. Would that help? That bill, that bill's gone through the gambit. We just got to attach it to something right now.
Yeah, we'll have to get with your staff. There are always details in these things.
Well, Audrey will be happy to reach out.
The basic concept is this is an exception to the rule for opiates, but I think the destruction and deaths that you've talked about merit it in this case.
Well, sir, what's happening is this. I mean, I understand the lobbying force up here, and Big Pharma and all that, but the bottom line is there's a lot of drugs we depend on, and I support them 1,000%. This is one, I never grew up with it. I never had, these things weren't on the market when I was a kid. I got taken care of pretty good. When I was in the hospital, if I ever went to the hospital, they took care of me what I needed. When I got out of the hospital, I couldn't get, if I still liked what they gave me in the hospital, I couldn't get it anywhere else. So all of a sudden, we know the history on that one, but we have a couple of things here we would like to work with you on. And I think that you might have some powers already, and we're trying to give you more. Let's make sure this other one's done the right way. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Senator